So, most of the work is... Ooh, I'm going to have to clean this up pretty good. Most of the work involves sawing this banjo neck. So I got to make sure the measurements are just right. But let's go ahead and remove this, as we will need to move the bridge back. We want to make sure this grounding wire does come forward a bit, which means we may need to extend it a little. I might pull on it and see. And if not, I'll just extend it with extra wire. But alright, so we've got this piece removed. Let's go ahead and remove this back plate, and that will release our guitar neck. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, now we'll double check our measurements. We'll take the measurements off there. We're doing cowboy luthier work here, so we don't need to take, super precise measurements, but we just need to make sure everything is just close enough and that it's functional. So we're going to go ahead, make sure we shave off enough of that and then leave enough of that neck there. We're going to drill some pilot holes and we'll get that neck mounted on. That really should only take a couple minutes, and then we'll have ourselves an electric 5-string banjo. Alright, so we've marked that there. I'm just going to go at it. I'm going to have an attempt, see how straight I can keep it, and try and get a clean cut through there. My measurements are all right. I did actually change the angle a little so it leans back a little bit, because I know this neck is a little forward leaning. It's quite old. It doesn't have an adjustable truss rod. It's got a truss rod in there that's not very good. So let's go ahead and see how well I can do with cutting that. Now, I am wearing my Freedom Shield today. Anytime you're doing any kind of cutting or sawing on an instrument that's got a finish on it, you absolutely want to wear your Freedom Shield, because you don't want to inhale the particles that come off of that. Especially the older stuff can be especially toxic as well. You don't really know what's in there. But any of those chemicals that are in an instrument finish, sanding, sawing, that stuff can get in your lungs and be real bad for it. So I'm wearing my Freedom Shield. You should wear yours too. Okay. Now, there is a shortcut into marking these. You can either just set that in there, sit it, and then use the screws and let the screws punch on in there. Or you can use your drill bit and just stick your drill bit in there. Now, I'm seeing a little bit of a challenge here, and that challenge is that the neck is thinner than the placement of the holes, which means I'm going to have to be a little bit crafty here, and I may have to drill new holes, and I may not use the back plate. We will see. So I'm just going to try and line that up and get this first one in there just to hold things in place. Now, I don't know about you guys, but ever since I was young, I've had a problem keeping it straight. So what I'm going to do here is put one screw in, let that hold it in place, and then I'm just going to drill. I'm just going to drill the other holes. So that'll help me keep things lined up here. That's a little off center, but it doesn't really matter. Actually, I did it by accident, but it was the right thing to do. Is that the neck does actually need to be this way a little bit to take into account you got the 5th string there. So, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Take a shortcut and compare the length of the drill bit to the screw, and that's just fine. I'm going to go ahead and puncture that right in there. Grandpapa always said you don't need to be pretty to make music. Alright. Those suckers are in there. They ain't going anywhere now. They're in there. Alright, well, it's ugly, but it's on there. Okay, we got a banjo neck attached to that body. That's nice and sturdy. So, what we're going to do now is reattach our bridge. I'm going to take a tape measure, put that up to my banjo, and I'm going to measure the scale length, and I'll just place the bridge in a spot where I can make sure that the intonation, the scale length is correct for this banjo. So now I've got myself an electric banjo, and Didn't really cost me anything because these are all scrap parts. All I needed to pay for were these screws, really. It's a little crowded in here because I got a number of projects going on, but I've measured 675. I'm gonna double check that measurement so I don't mess this part up because this is pretty important. All right, I took another measurement and I got 672. But again, these things, they can go in and out a little bit, so what I'm gonna do is just dial them in a little. Whoops. I'm just eyeballing it here, but I'm doing what I think is right and shifting that way so that the strings will be on the board. Now, I'm eyeballing it. I didn't take any real measurements, but you got to trust your gut when it comes to doing cowboy luthier work. Okay, and I just want to make sure that my grounding wire is making significant contact, sufficient contact. Tighten them just a bit now that they're all on. Okay, what we'll do is remove this guy since we no longer need a 6th string. Alright, I stole a banjo string off my other banjo. I just realized I don't have any spare sets in the studio. I've used them all, so I've got to rush to the shop. So I need to raise the action on that as the string is touching. So I've only got one string on here that I've stolen. Now, oh yeah, that's nice. I have not measured a single thing since you've been here the whole time, and the intonation sounds like it's extremely close, if not spot on. That's my favorite part about doing cowboy luthier work, is the thrill of it, just shooting from the hip. I'm pretty excited about this. I'm gonna run to the shop, buy a new set of banjo strings, slap that on there. All right, so luckily these were at a pretty good price at the local music shop. So we got our 5-string banjo nickel, and we're gonna slap it on there, on that neck.
Well, what do you think of that? That was such a fun build. I can't believe how that sounds. It's so rewarding. Honestly, I did not know what to expect. I didn't think it was going to sound that good, and it was really exciting getting to the end of that, especially just sort of putting things in. You guys were there with me for the whole process. I didn't over measure things. I didn't fuss over things. I just did it the cowboy luthier way. I shot from the hip, and the intonation on the strings ended up basically perfect right where I put it. Only had to adjust very slightly, and I had to raise the height of the strings. This neck is warped. I've owned it for 20 years. It's never been good. It's been awful the whole time, so it's been sitting in storage, and I finally found this was what this neck was meant for. This is what it was meant to be. I would not have attempted this on a neck if it was a good quality, even like a half decent, like even Carrera, they're the bottom of the barrel when it comes to entry level. But I don't think I would have attempted this on a Carrera neck because those are still good and usable. I would have used that on something else, but because this neck was it's been so awful, and again, there's no truss rod. It's been curved. I've been shaving down the frets for years. But I got it on there in a way that's just right. The action's fantastic. It's so pleasant to play. You can see where I had to put the screws in that guy, and it just worked out. The placement of the bridge worked out. It's exactly where the bridge needs to be. So, the neck is off-center just a little bit, and the bridge lined up perfectly. The strings are in just the right place. This sounds unreal. I hope that I can get the sound across in the video here, but in person, I kind of can't stop playing this because it's so smooth and pleasant. I had some friends over, we put on some pedal effects, and they both said, man, this instrument just sounds way better clean. There's something about it. I think it's the very low tension across all of the strings that gives it this sweet, creamy sound, It's so pleasant, so I'm so looking forward to using this. This is now going to be a permanent instrument in my studio. I'll be using it in as many different soundtracks as I can moving forward as I do more work and create more soundtracks. I'm going to be using this as much as I can. So I'm so excited to have this instrument. It sounds great. I hope you guys enjoyed watching that and sharing the journey with me. You can build one yourself. You saw how I did it in the video. You don't need to fuss too much about it. Just do it the cowboy luthier way. It worked out. And, Gold Tone does have their Dojo, which is a resonator banjo that's got a pickup in it. They have other electric banjos as well. If anyone from Gold Tone is out there and would like me to take a look at your instruments, you can send me a banjo. I'll do a review. I'll use it in my studio work. I can talk about it. I can share your instrument with my audience. I've got people all around the world who listen to my music and enjoy my soundtrack work. I'm working on a new formula for reviews. They're not going to be the slapdash ones that I was doing in the past that were just down to earth. These are going to be structured in a way that's more useful to people, and I will be specifying the environments in which the instruments will be appropriate, whether they're good for certain environments or not. So those reviews are coming up pretty soon. I'm just finalizing my setup for those reviews, so please look forward to that. I've got some new instruments. I'll be re-reviewing some old instruments now that I've spent more time with them. Thanks very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that, and if you guys would like to contribute to my channel, because getting all these parts does get quite pricey, especially that I've been restoring old Wild West instruments from the 1800s, and I've been restoring those. I've been working on creating truly faithful Wild West music. I'll put the link to a PayPal donation where you can donate and help me buy a pack of strings, help me buy some materials for restoring these old instruments. I'll share everything that I'm working on because it's something I'm passionate about, I'm excited about, and I always enjoy hearing from you guys. So please take care of yourselves. When you come home again soon, I'll leave the porch light on for you.